Tomorrow marks 4 years since the attack on the U.S. Capitol, and we spoke to then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi just a short while ago this morning. She's recovering from a fall last month, and we began by asking her why she thinks so many Americans decided that Donald Trump's support for the rioters in 2020 should not disqualify him from a second term as president.
I wouldn't say that the American people disregarded this. They just had a different view as to what was in their interest economically and the rest. So I don't call this a disregard of January 6th. I just call it something that they saw in their interest economically.
But I mean, even just last night at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump was screening a documentary about the 2020 election, claiming his win and trying to talk about the legal challenges he had. There seems to be a continued effort to claim that he won in 2020.
It's really sad. It really is sad. And I don't know about the film that he had and the rest, but it's almost sick that he would be thinking that in 2020. He's won the election now. Mm-hmm. That will be clear. That will be clear. And tomorrow he will be clearly, we will be accepting the results of the Electoral College. So he should be triumphant about that. But to be still trying to fight a fight that he knows he lost is really sad.
You know, the president-elect has said that in the first 9 minutes of his new term, he will pardon many of those who participated in January 6th. He said he'll look at it a case-by-case basis. But in looking back at what happened 4 years ago, there are recordings, there's video evidence of what happened. It is personal for you. Some of these writers in your office chanting your name. Yeah. One of the defendants, we were looking for Nancy to shoot her in the friggin' brain, but we didn't find her. For you, this is personal. So when you hear about pardons, do you think the nonviolent attackers deserve to be pardoned?
The nonviolent, I think that's a violent attacker with the intention.
The violence itself.
Yeah.
The violent language, you think?
The violent language, yes, the intention. And, of course, the intention to attack the Vice President of the United States. Now, it didn't end that day. As you know, he called out to these people to continue their violence. My husband being a victim of all of that. And he still has injuries from that attack, so it just goes on and on. It isn't something that happens and then it's over. No, once you are attacked, you have consequences that continue. So I don't, it's really a strange person who's going to be president of the United States who thinks that it's okay to pardon people who are engaged in an attack. But let's do this. Let's just say, okay, to the American people, this is what this is about. Do not be conned by the denial of the election of 2020. And why would he be saying that? Mm-hmm. But he is. And then on top of that, the denial of what happened on January 6th.
But some of the 1,600 defendants here were really only charged with trespassing. And when you look at the profiles, University of Chicago did a study. Half of those who broke into the Capitol were white-collar workers. They were small business owners. Didn't necessarily have a criminal record. When you look at that profile, you said intention. It was the intention itself you think that needs to be considered, more so than the crime, that it casts the crime itself of trespassing in a different light for you.
Well, the president said he would go on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
So I assume that some of those people may not have engaged in the violent activities that some of the others did. Look at this beautiful Capitol, the dome built by Lincoln. Under Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War, they said, don't build the dome. It takes too much steel and manpower, they said, from the war effort. And he said, no, I have to show the resilience of America. Mm-hmm. And then under that dome, you saw flags that, just horrible flags under the dome of Lincoln. Mm-hmm. And so it was a tragedy, and we cannot be in denial about what it was. If the president's going to go on a case-by-case basis, I hope he does. And maybe
trespassers, you would be comfortable with pardoning.
Well, it depends on how they define what that is. But but I know that some of that encouragement, mm-hmm. and then the follow-up that so many people were threatened, including me, and to my home, looking for me and finding my husband, and as I say, who still suffers from head injuries on that day. So these things don't just happen and go away when you have a head injury.
Right.
But anyway, to see the threat to so many people in elective office, going beyond me, but so many people in elective office, it shouldn't be a threat to your family that you have chosen to do public service.
You wrote in your book about that 2022 attack on your husband. And you said your daughter told you she had known what you were signing up for, she would never have given you her blessing to run for office in the first place. Do you think that this threat of domestic violent extremism is having a chilling effect on new talent and anyone running for office?
Well, I certainly hope not. But over the years, when I was encouraging people to run for office, especially women, they would say, we could never take the abuse that you take. And that was really just abuse. It wasn't physical. It was criticism and the rest of that. And we don't want our children subjected to that. And yes, I do think it will have a negative impact on people running for public office. Just, in other words, if you're a mom and they go after you as a mom, and your child comes home crying from school because somebody said a negative thing because they saw it on TV, mm-hmm. that the other side said something bad about you, you might not run for office.
So you think it will discourage particularly women?
Particularly women.
From running?
Yeah, I do. I know that it has, but I hope that it will not, that we will shine a bright light on this and just say, this is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. This is unacceptable. See, for women, women are known to be more, shall we say, ethical than men. And so when they go after women candidates, they go after their ethics. Mm-hmm. And they'll say this, that, and the other thing. And then the child comes home from school crying because somebody said a bad thing about mom, mm-hmm. on TV. And nobody wants that. So hopefully the bright light shining on that will reduce that. But I think that women have proven that they are more ethical, and that they are, well, maybe they're not more ethical, they're all ethical, but that they can withstand that, mm-hmm. criticism.
And you can see more of our conversation with Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi on our website and our YouTube page.